So let me get this straight. Star Wars, the franchise that used to drop trailers that melted the internet, just came back to the biggest marketing stage on Earth. And what did Lucasfilm give us? A Budweiser-styled nostalgia commercial. But instead of Clydesdales, it's Tauntauns. And instead of "this is the way," it's basically "please clap." And the best part? After it aired, people were confused. Not debated confused, not theorized confused. Wait, was that a beer ad? Confused. So Disney did what Disney always does when the audience doesn't instantly applaud. They started explaining the joke. And that, my friends, is where the backlash begins. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to The Critical Nerd, the channel where we keep expectations low and the receipts high. Now, before we get into it, do me a favor. Hit that like button. It helps the video get out of Disney's algorithmic dungeon. Subscribe if you want daily pop culture breakdowns, box office autopsies, and corporate cope dissected like a frog in a biology class. And comment early. I want to know right now, did you think that the Super Bowl spot was a movie trailer or a beer commercial? Because today we're talking about the Mandalorian Grogu Super Bowl ad, the one that was supposed to remind the world that Star Wars still matters, and instead reminded everyone that Disney has the confidence of a team kneeling on 4th and 1, down by 17. We're going to break down what the ad showed and didn't show, the backlash receipts, the damage control quotes, and the big question, what aren't they showing us? So let's go. So the spot is basically a Super Bowl commercial parody. Snow, sincerity, warm fuzzy vibes, a wagon ride, Tauntauns standing in for the classic iconic American commercial imagery. And don't get me wrong, it's not badly made. It looks fine, it's polished, it's cute. The problem is, it's cute in a way a screensaver is cute. This is the Mandalorian Grogu, the movie, the theatrical return of Star Wars. The one that's supposed to say, hey, Star Wars is back on the big screen. And instead this ad says, remember commercials? That's not a movie pitch, that's a vibe pitch. And it's not even a vibe pitch aimed at casual audiences. Because most casual viewers don't go, oh wow, Star Wars is coming back. They went, wait, what was that? Which brings us to the backlash. Here is the biggest, simplest reason people dragged it. The Super Bowl is not the time to be subtle. You pay for the Super Bowl to do one thing, communicate instantly. You have 30 seconds to make people say, that looks awesome, or I needed to see that, or when is it out? And instead, Disney used their Super Bowl slot to do a film marketing concept piece that requires explanation. Because fans immediately asked, where are the stakes? Where's the villain? Where's the action? Where's the scale? Where's the oh damn moment? You know, the stuff you used to sell a movie? Instead, the ad is like, look, it's Grogu, he's adorable. Bro, come on. Everyone knows Grogu is adorable. People who haven't watched Star Wars since the Bush administration know Grogu is adorable. The issue isn't, is Grogu cute? Can't spit that out. The issue is Star Wars a must-see theatrical event anymore? And that's why the reaction had a theme. Confusion. Not, I hate this confusion. More like, I genuinely thought this was a Budweiser commercial for half the runtime. Which is not exactly the sentence you want after spending Super Bowl money. And then the commentary reaction goes even harder. Some people frame this as, Star Wars is now a product, not a myth. Not sub-creation, not cinematic storytelling, just brand management. The argument basically says, Disney doesn't sell stories anymore, they sell recognizable shapes. Helmet, green baby, nostalgia snow ride, merch. And then there's the spicier angle. By choosing a beer commercial parody structure, Star Wars marketing accidentally tethered itself to beer brand cultural baggage. I'm not even saying Disney intended that. I'm saying optics are real and the internet noticed. So now you've got, this is a Budweiser parody. Why are we doing beer commercial nostalgia instead of a trailer? Who is this for? What are they hiding? And the last one is the big one. But before we get there, let's talk about the damage control. Here's where things get hilarious. Because when people didn't instantly get it, Disney Lucasfilm went into explanation mode. Not, here's a follow-up trailer mode, explanation mode, as in, no. You see, it's paying homage to classic Super Bowl ads, which is marketing speak for, please understand the joke we spent millions on. And look, I get the internet. They wanted warmth. They wanted emotional connection. They wanted the Mando Grogu bond. They wanted classic big game ad energy. That's what they said. But here's the issue. You don't get credit for intent. You get credit for impact. And the impact was, cool. So where's the movie? Because the damage control itself basically confirms the criticism. If the concept requires a press toward to decode, then the concept failed to communicate. And here's the kicker. This wasn't some random ad agency that fumbled. This wasn't the interns accidentally uploaded the wrong cut. Nope. Jon Favreau directed the spot himself, which means the movie's own director looked at the biggest marketing stage in the world and said, let's do a beer ad parody. Either that's the swagger of a man who knows he's got the goods, or it's the nervous energy of someone who doesn't want to show the goods yet, which leads to the real question. This is where the backlash shifts from, what is this ad, to, wait a minute. Because if you believe your movie is a guaranteed hit, your Super Bowl spot is easy. Big villain reveal, massive set piece, a line that becomes a meme, a beat that screams theaters. Instead, they did a warm and fuzzy parody sleigh ride. So, what aren't they showing? Is the villain not ready? Is the plot too thin? Is the scale smaller than people expect? Is it basically an extra long Disney Plus episode wearing a theatrical suit? Because the entire marketing strategy, whether they meant it or not, reads like this. We're selling the brand, not the story. And that's dangerous in 2026 because the audience is not showing up for brand. They show up for events. They show up for, I have to see this opening weekend. I can't get spoiled. It looks insane. And Star Wars used to own that feeling. Now the conversation is Star Wars even a theatrical draw anymore? That's the question Disney needed to answer in that Super Bowl slot. Instead, they answered, Grogu is cute. Yeah, he is. We know. Now, show me starfighters, blaster fire, a mythic villain, the stakes, the scale, the reason we're leaving the house. Because right now, the ad feels like a studio that doesn't want to risk a real trailer moment. Because the real trailer moment might not land. And if you're wondering why people are suspicious, because suspicion is what happens when you spend the biggest ad money in America and don't show the movie. So here's the bottom line. The Mandalorian and Grogu Super Bowl ad wasn't a crime. It wasn't offensive. It wasn't the end of Star Wars. It was worse than that. It was confidently unserious. It was Disney spending premium money to run a commercial that made people say, wait, what was that? And then having to follow it up with, no. You see, it was an homage. We were paying homage. And that's the entire problem in one sentence. If you have to explain the ad didn't work. Star Wars doesn't need more cute. It needs conviction. It needs to stand on its own myth again, not borrow the shape of another brand's nostalgia and hope the audience fills in the blanks. Because right now, the biggest receipt from this whole situation is simple. Disney had the Super Bowl, and instead of selling the movie, they sold a vibe. All right, it's your turn. Comment below. Did you like the ad? Did you get what they were going for immediately? Or did you spend half the runtime thinking you were about to buy a six-pack? That's it for me, the Critical Nerd. Keep your expectations low and your receipts high, and I'll see you in the next one.